Welcome to the City Current Show, powered by Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services.
This show focuses on sharing good news and powering the good in our community. Now here's your host, City Current CEO, Jeremy Park.
Welcome back to the City Current Show, powered by Higginbotham. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference, empowering the good. And we love talking about the power of volunteerism. And that's why we're so excited to have with us Caroline Norris, President and CEO of Volunteer Odyssey. How are you doing?
I am great. Thanks so much, Jeremy, for having me on to be able to talk about volunteerism in Memphis and how there are so many great opportunities to get out and serve our community.
Absolutely. And so we're going to talk a lot about service. We're going to talk a lot about giving back. Let's start though with your story, because we've known Volunteer Odyssey for a long time, over a decade, in terms of partnering with Volunteer Odyssey as a volunteer hub to get people, to get companies engaged in the community. So long history there and legacy, but for you, fairly new in terms of the role, but not fairly new in terms of working with Volunteer Odyssey. So give us a little bit of your personal background and why you're so excited to step into the role as president and CEO of Volunteer Odyssey.
Yeah, it is kind of a full circle moment that I moved to Memphis about 9 years ago, and I realized that serving your community is a great way to meet new people and to learn about your new hometown. And so I got connected immediately with Volunteer Odyssey and one of the programs, which is Volunteers, which lets you go in to hear from a nonprofit, give just an hour or so, and have some beers while you're doing it and meet people. So it was a great, I feel like that was maybe the best decision I made as soon as I got to Memphis. And then I started working in the nonprofit sector here. I worked for American Cancer Society and Alsac St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. And then most recently, at Shelby Farms Park. And I was also on the board of a few nonprofits, Cooper Young Community Association, and what do you know? They all needed help recruiting volunteers and organizing that data, making sure that they could connect to them, to communicate clearly so that folks knew what to expect and when they should show up and what they needed to bring. And so I brought Volunteer Odyssey into almost every single one of those opportunities. And at Shelby Farms Park, most recently, one of my roles was making sure that our Starry Nights holiday light show that everybody in the Mid-South knows and loves, that it's the largest fundraiser for the park, but we cannot, with 2 miles of lights, there's no way that our small team of 40 people could put that on while keeping the park open all day during the day. And so volunteers were really the power making sure that that light show went off. And so I worked really closely with the folks at Volunteer Odyssey, the whole team, to help make sure that all of the volunteers that came to Shelby Farms Park had a great experience. They knew what to expect. And, it was a very mutual relationship. And that's where I really loved it. And I've gotten to know over these last 9 years, I got to know Sarah really well and how intentional she is about building this organization, and that she is very intentional about creating those pathways to purpose, to help volunteers, to help nonprofits, to help companies navigate ways to connect those that want to help with those that need the help. And so when Sarah called me up and was like, hey, I have found my new path to disaster relief, that she's going to do amazing things. She's like, it was just such a great fit that I have loved this organization so much and been able to see how much impact it has made. I mean, in the last 11 years, over 30,000 volunteers in our greater Memphis community. It's incredible. And so I'm really honored to be able to take that legacy and build on it.
So you know firsthand, personally and professionally, the power of volunteerism. And just like you're talking about, there's a critical intersection to help the nonprofits, but also to match the purpose, the pathway to purpose for the individuals and for the companies, the teams of employees. Talk about that critical intersection, because nonprofits can't do what they do, just like you mentioned, without the support of volunteers. We need the volunteers to physically serve. At the same time, though, that leads to more meaning, more friendships, more relationships. Just like you've experienced firsthand, the power of getting involved in your community allows you to see the city in a whole new light. So share a little of that nuance in terms of the power of volunteerism for the Mid-South.
I think the biggest thing that Volunteer Odyssey focuses on is that we want it to be transformational, not just transactional. And that means that, it sounds really sexy to have this huge single day of service with thousands of volunteers working on one project. Like, that sounds really great, but for the nonprofits, and we know that in Memphis, we have a very large number of nonprofits that need help. They are all staffs of 5, 10, maybe a couple hundred if you're with St. Jude, but that's not the norm. And so these projects, these huge projects, are actually what we were finding were more transactional, that like it was a one hot shot that make you feel good for the moment. But what's transformational in our space is to have smaller projects that go on for years, that maybe you find with the Boys and Girls Club that you can be a mentor for an entire year. With Carpenter Art Garden, we've got kiddos that are running after school to get to the gardens to make sure that they have a mentor, because there's just not enough mentors for all of the kids that want to be able to have that adult interaction, that help with homework immediately right after school. And so that is the kind of transformational impact that I really think is what's going to continue to make Memphis such a special place, and that the goodness that is in every Memphian is coming out when you can have those transformational opportunities and not just a transaction, that then you're getting that impact, sure, in the moment as you have that 1 hour of mentoring, but you are changing that kiddo's life as you invest in them, maybe just an hour a month for one school year. For an adult, that's maybe 9, 10, 12 hours of your year. For that kiddo, that can really change the trajectory of their life, that they learn something new, that they have someone else that sees the good in them and really impact that. And that's just one small example of how that kind of that lifelong volunteerism, that view of lifelong volunteers over and over again in small increments, can be really impactful for the folks that we are serving, our neighbors that we're serving, as well as for the individual that is doing the service. It's a great little endorphin boost, but also you are learning at the same time, that when you are just like teachers, when you have to teach others, you learn so much more. That is the same kind of give back of volunteerism.
And I want to touch on a couple things. One is for those like me and everyone else who want to improve our community, who want to be a solution for crime, who want to be a solution for workforce development, education, lifting our community. That takes physical service. When you look at the youth, they need positive role models. They need mentors. They need someone who steps in, just like you're talking about, and physically is there to help open doors of opportunity, but also model the right, good, positive behaviors. You can't just throw dollars at it. Now, dollars are important for nonprofits, yes.
We do love that.
Yeah, you need physical service. And that's why this to me is so important. The other piece of the equation is it takes a lot to create meaningful experiences. Instead of just showing up, there's a lot of legwork on the front end that has to be done to be able to make sure that a volunteer, when they do show up, they're prepared, the experience is positive, and on both sides, it's a win. And so that to me is one of the best things that Volunteer Odyssey has always done, is make it personal, make it meaningful, make it significant. Carry that into then what is Volunteer Odyssey. So you mentioned Pathways to Purpose. Go ahead and describe Volunteer Odyssey.
So we really focus on our big vision is what if, this is a question that we like to ask ourselves, what if all of our nonprofit partners had the volunteers to accomplish their mission? What if that they had the right volunteers in the right seats at the right time? How can we amplify their voice, help them recruit, help them with best practices, provide the support that they need for volunteer management, and get all the volunteers that they need to accomplish their mission? What an incredible world. What a transformation that this city would see if we could accomplish that, because we have so many great organizations doing critical work across all sectors. And so we really focus on building relationships with about we've got about 70 nonprofit partners at the moment. Then it's really actually, and we're kind of probably beyond capacity a little bit, because we build those relationships and because we do want them to be able to make great experiences for the volunteers, because one bad experience might crush that volunteer spirit and not make them want to volunteer again. And while sometimes you can't help, the day having storms, but we do whatever we can, that we provide best practices and trainings, and just group think of what are the problems that are going on, and like let's build connections with intersecting with all of the other nonprofits. And so that is one huge thing that we focus on. The other part is providing a pathway for individuals or organizations, companies to a lot of companies are working on that employee engagement. We know that employee retention is critical. It is just like with any sale. If you have to go find a new customer, it costs you 3 times as much. For employees, it's even exponential on that. And so getting the folks that you've already invested in to stay sticky to you, employee engagement is critical. And so what better way to build teams, to make those connections with your company, with your department, with your organization, then to accomplish a goal together, to serve others, to do something a little outside of what your day-to-day is, see your teammates in a new light. So we provide that pathway through our website to be able to find opportunities that fit your interests, your skill set, and your schedule. We know everyone is busy. And so, yeah, it sounds really great that, not everybody can just leave for lunch to go mentor. Okay, well, we've got after school. Well, we have Saturdays. We have meals that need to be served at dinner. We have so many opportunities that our platform really brings all of those options together, so you don't have to find every single nonprofit in Memphis to figure out what's going to fit your skill set, your schedule, and just what you enjoy doing. And then the third is we focus on data, because we want to not just feel good about it. We want to be able to show our city, our neighbors, our greater community, and our nonprofit partners, here's the impact that those volunteers have made. And that helps them with fundraising. The funders and their partners love to hear that. For the individuals doing the service, it is so exciting to see that, maybe you just handed out food for the mobile grocer for 2 hours. And it might feel like a little drop in the bucket, but when you aggregate all of those hours, and those hours transfer to dollars, and those are all individuals, that is such a huge impact that is changing our community day after day. So those are kind of the 3 areas that we really focus on. And in the summertime, what we're working on is Summer of Service. And what we see, just like probably everybody is planning their summer vacation, kids are going to camp, there's so much kind of pulling on your time that our nonprofits really see a dip in the folks that have the ability to serve them during the summer. So we're trying to help amplify their voices and focus on, in June, we focused on environment and conservation, and we're able to, we heard from Clean Memphis. They had their big Loving Local event, and that, a few weeks before, because we were promoting it and helping them, change some of their wording, they were able to staff every single shift and had everybody that they needed to operate that event. That's exactly what we want. And in July, we're focusing on hunger and homelessness. And in August, we're focused on arts and education. As the kiddos are going back to school, we'll have a lot of prep for that. And so this really gives our nonprofit partners the focus and attention to get more eyes, even though they're seeing a dip in numbers. Hopefully, this will help them and help others be able to say, okay, well, maybe I do have an hour or two. Maybe I can set aside this Saturday morning. I'm home where everybody's home. We can go help out.
So how can the community help? Because you've already talked, I think when you look at the corporate side, corporations can engage, individuals can engage. Obviously, the financial contributions are important, but the physical service, we want people to sign up and get involved. So how can the community get involved and support Volunteer Odyssey and support our community?
So it is super easy for our website, serve.volunteerodyssey.com. You will find a real easy calendar. You can look and see what dates you're available, and then you'll have all of the opportunities for that date. Pick the time frame that you want. We have opportunities, I think, every single day. There may be one or two a month, but it is almost every single day. So if you've got a window of opportunity, serve.volunteerodyssey.com, you will find something that matches your schedule and your time and talents.
And I think, too, for those who want to do a deeper dive, especially on the corporate side, just reaching out to you directly, easy way to start those conversations. So wrap up again one more time with website. You never can say it enough in the world of media. So where do we go to learn more and get involved with Volunteer Odyssey?
Thank you. Serve.volunteerodyssey.com. Come join us. We've got plenty of needs. We just need the helpers to do the work.
There you go. Well, Caroline Norris, thank you for all you do to power the good. We love and appreciate Volunteer Odyssey. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks, Jeremy. Really appreciate it.
Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services is proud to power the City Current Show. We're a people-first company that protects what matters most, the families, businesses, and trailblazers that keep our community going. As one of the nation's top independent insurance firms, Higginbotham is a single-source solution for business insurance, employee benefits, HR services, and personal insurance that's customized for you. We're here to serve you, the people you care about, and your community. Call 866-377-1959 or visit higginbotham.com.